Back in the mix with Bryant McFadden here to not tell me I was right, but I was right.
You had a day?
Aiden Hutchinson, 4.5 sacks, and they kind of robbed him of a half. Looked like 5, stat correction back to 4.5. That is not the story of this one, however. No. The Buccaneers are the story. This is a team that can go anywhere and play anybody and walk away with a win like this.
Man, they're a very, very physical team defensively. I'm loving what I'm seeing from Todd Bowles in this Buccaneers defense. Let's highlight the tackling. They do a great job in tackling. You want to see what a good defense look like? Look at the defenses that don't allow missed tackles. No yak is involved when they're on the football field. That's one thing. Secondly, for me, when you talk about creating turnovers, Jared Goff was throwing left and right, wasn't successful. They were collapsing the pocket, putting pressure on Jared Goff. They had control of this ball game for 4 quarters. And their quarterback was sacked 5 times. It didn't matter. When your quarterback is sacked 5 times, it's safe to say you're going to be in position to lose ball games because those are negative yards. Those are momentum killers when you're playing against teams like the Detroit Lions, who's a playoff caliber team. This was a huge win for Tampa, and this was a team, this was a game, Joe. They took this game personal. Yeah. They played Detroit twice last year, once in the regular season, once in the postseason. They came up short both opportunities, right? They came into this matchup understanding and knowing this is a team that we will potentially see in January. And we want to send a little message to them and their fan base. This is a different Buccaneers team from top to bottom. We believe they're well coached and they do things the right way. And to your point about Baker, the energy, everyone is feeding off his energy right now. Yeah. Baker is having a time, and the same could be said for his entire team because they're enjoying themselves.
You know I love talking situational football with you, and I want to take you back to the end of the first half. Less than 10 seconds on the clock. You take a 12-man penalty, Lions that is. The runoff happens, you go to the half instead of getting those 3 points. Those 3 points would have allowed you to not go for it on 4th down. Instead,
kick a field goal to win.
Take the lead with a late-game field goal. Dan Campbell has been under fire before for going on it on 4th down. Obviously comes to mind the playoff decision. But these are the types of things that we have to keep an eye on with the head coach. Where do you assign blame here? Obviously 12 men. You got to have your units ready to get on and off the field.
It's on Dan Campbell. Yeah. When you talk about Dan Campbell, the job he's done in turning around a very, very below-average organization, you applaud him for those things. Certainly. Right? They have an identity as a team. But the issue for Dan Campbell, when you watch him coach, situational moments, he's not at his best. To Joe's point, going for it on 4th downs instead of settling for 3 points, attempting 3 points, that's an issue. Today's opportunity, right before halftime, you know you don't have any timeouts. So you got to make sure your guys, they're dialed in as best as possible to attempt a field goal that would have been huge towards the end of the ball game. You lost by 4 points. Right? So if you attempt that field goal right before half, a very, very makeable field goal, you look at the extra 3 points that you would have had at the end of the ball game, what allowed you to settle for a game-winning field goal instead of trying to get a game-winning touchdown.
Changes the whole scenario in the sense of when you drive in the 4th quarter into field goal range, then you start chewing clock, knowing you only need that.
And another thing I would like to highlight with coaching, with Detroit, why is Jared Goff throwing the football 55 times? When you look at the box score, you look at Jared Goff, you would think, well, they was down 20 points in the first half, and they just needed to fight back and score and try to score fast. Why he's throwing 55 times? That's not the Detroit Lions. The Detroit Lions, they're at their best when they're doing what? They're using the dual backfield of Monty and Jahmyr Gibbs, who coexist rather nicely in the backfield, running in the peel, down the teeth of your defense. What did they do in overtime against the Rams? Nah, Jared Goff.
Monty.
Run it.
45 yards.
What are we doing? Yeah. It's one thing, Joe, if you're fighting from behind from start, where you need to score fast. But in this ball game, yes, Tampa was scoring points, mostly settling for field goals. You were settling for field goals as well. So why are you making this a throwing game? Why are you becoming one-dimensional? You self-imposed one dimensions in your offense. It wasn't because they were stopping the ground and pound attack. You just wanted to throw the football. Get back to doing what you do best. They're at their best when they're running the football. Play action. 55 times for Jared Goff? No. 55 times and get this, no touchdowns. Yep. Only interceptions.
55 attempts for anybody in today's NFL, you got to find some balance. And
unless you're Pat Mahomes.
If you're Pat Mahomes, and that's what
Patty Mac.
Game plan
he can throw 70,
I got a good peace of mind about the Lions figuring things out, but it was not their cleanest effort on this day.